Thank you. This is a perfect segue to Barry, author of a number of books, the most recent of which is Cornered, The New Monopoly, Capitalism and the Economics of Destruction. So what is the connection between economic concentration, both at the level of the business corporation and at the level of finance, to the larger problematic that we're addressing this morning?
Well, thanks, Bob. And actually, I wanted to start off by just actually thanking Demos in general, because, and it's Bob and Heather and Miles and Lou, because you guys are asking questions that a lot of other folks aren't. Getting to this issue of what is the fundamental paradigm that is in operation today, and how did that shift? I mean, that's what we need to be asking, and I'm thrilled that you guys are doing that. In terms of what happened, I mean, I'm going to start off with a little bit of just a story of America to history to give us a sense of what changed at the micro level. And this is something that sort of connects into a lot of the things that Damon was just talking about. But, going back to, say, the Tea Party, it's a good place to start these days. 1773, the Boston Tea Party. A lot of folks say it was the real one. People say it was against taxation, right? And that was a factor. But if you go back and you look at what folks were writing about, if you look at what John Hancock was writing about and Sam Adams, what you'll see is that they were really scared of a company called the British East India Company. They were scared of monopoly. And they wrote about the danger that monopoly posed to them, to their liberties as individuals, and to their liberties as a community. So, that was really what America was founded in. It was founded in large part, a rebellion against monopoly. Monopoly in, over what we believe, monopoly in our commerce. And the fact was that for 200 years in this country, we did a pretty good job of fighting monopoly, of fighting concentration of power. Now, there was a positive vision here. The vision was that you would have sort of sovereign citizens within sovereign communities, independent citizens within independent communities spread across the face of the earth, our earth. And so that was the positive vision, and then we used these negative laws to go out and sort of break things, efforts to concentrate power in economics, because we understood that if you concentrate too much power in the economic realm, you use that to concentrate power in the political realm. We didn't always do a great job in this. In the 100 years ago, in the plutocratic era, things got out of hand, but we got that, the American people actually managed to get that back under control. Beginning in 1912 with the election of Wilson, continuing in 1932 with the election of FDR. But then 1981 comes along, when Reagan was elected. There was a pretty radical change. There was really a revolutionary change in this most fundamental law, in this most fundamental set of laws, this principle that we were going to seek competition in all political economic activities, that we're going to deconcentrate all political economic activities, that we're going to protect the sovereignty of the citizen and of the community. So it comes along 1981, the Reagan folks, we remember that. We remember that one of their first blows was against organized labor. Just about the same time, their second blow, or maybe it was even the first, I haven't actually looked at which came first, was against the antitrust laws, against our competition policy. And they didn't actually go out and say, we're going to change the law, but they said, we're going to change this one principle that determines how we enforce this whole suite of laws. And they changed it from competition to efficiency. We're going to seek efficiency. So we can talk about sort of, who else sort of played a part in that later, maybe. But just to give you some sense of what that little change at the level of principle, we're going to seek to distribute power, distribute opportunity, protect sovereignty, to we're going to pursue efficiency in the name of the consumer. 30 years on, what does this mean for us? A lot of people, we think about monopoly as a threat to us economically. And the fact is like, this is a really bad economic thing that has happened in terms of prices. And I'll just, one example, and I could go through pretty much every part of the economy we could look at, we'd see higher prices. The idea, this idea that there's a Walmart effect out there is pretty mythological. But just one example, in medical devices, we've had this huge debate last 5 years over medical costs in the United States. Some years back, we basically suspended our competition policy when it comes to medical devices. And this is like the thing, when we buy syringes, hospitals buy syringes, they buy bandages. A fellow named Robert Lighton, who was an antitrust enforcer in the Clinton administration, and he's at Brookings. He's about as conservative a fellow as you can find in this realm. Last year, 2 years ago, he put out a paper looking at the effects of this one change, and he's estimated that just in medical devices and medical goods, he was talking about nearly $40 billion per year in cost to America because of that one little change. And yet, in all these talks about healthcare costs, we haven't actually addressed that. But then also, jobs and, business creation. We actually did a story, a research project last year looking at business creation. And what we looked at was the creation per year, per capita of new businesses that employ at least one person. This is not a consultant that goes out on his or her own. This is, you're starting off day one with at least one other person working for you. So these are real businesses. Between 1979 and 2009, the creation per capita of new businesses that employ one other person went down more than 50% in this country, 50%. We actually got a front page story in the Wall Street Journal out of that one, because that was actually news to most folks. That's due, as the Journal actually admitted, largely to the fact that we have these massive combines out there that are basically blocking the markets, owning the markets, consolidating control over the markets. So that affects the number of new jobs out there, the number of new businesses out there, the number of businesses that grow to scale. But then also jobs. I mean, concentration, we see wages going down. Part of the reason that wages are going down, part of the reason that there are fewer jobs out there is because you see massive concentration. We saw a couple of huge, just after the Obama administration came in, there were a couple of huge mergers in the pharmaceutical industry. Nearly 100,000 people were thrown onto the street thanks to those mergers. A lot of these people were, some of these people were secretaries. Some of them were janitors. A lot of these folks were chemists. But 100,000 people, that's just what, so when you have mergers, you end up with fewer jobs. But also you end up with more power over the people under those, who work for those corporations, more of a disbalance in power in terms of, for the setting of wages. And that's something, again, we haven't actually looked at.